There are people who can do that off their heads and they can give all these, Bible verses and stuff. I'm not able to do that here. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Flash and this is Beauty Secrets. Now, if you're new here, please make sure that you subscribe because I don't want you to miss any more content. But today, in today's video, I want us to talk about our faith. And I'm going to share some of my experiences in the hopes that you can reflect on your own experiences. And let's look at this faith journey and how can we better ourselves, how can we improve ourselves, and in what ways. Let's get into this. So my faith story just starts off as every other, Christian African who has grown up in an African home. I used to go to church every Sunday, starting with Sunday school. Eventually I went to the bigger church, and I would say that my relationship with faith and my relationship with God was more based on the religious side and not necessarily on faith. And I'll explain why. So the first few years we had to go to church, and because my mother was a Christian and she was a very strong Christian, and she was not only religious but she was really, really a believer, and she was born again. But however, my relationship was different because just because we had to go to church, I also had to go to church. I didn't formulate my own beliefs early on, so it took me a while to develop those. So it means that on the surface I looked like any other religious human being. However, when it came to faith, I had quite a little bit of a relationship, and this is what it looked like. So when you go to pray and you ask God for things, but then you go back and start doubting the very same things that you asked God to give you, that means there's an issue with your faith. And I didn't know that was an issue. But all I know is I used to pray to God, but at the same time, I would be struggling as a human being with my own knowledge, my own understanding, and my own strength. I was struggling to find solutions to the same things I asked God for. Not only was I struggling, but at the same time I was not trusting that He was going to take control of situations. He was going to do things that I requested Him to do. So I would ask Him for things, then at the same time I was out there in my own struggles, trying to figure out the same situations I spoke to Him about. So that was where we're not meeting at a very nice point. Now, not to say that in my teens I actually became a born again, but I think there's a difference between becoming a born again. There's a difference between having a religion, and there's really a difference with having a real relationship with God and having faith in Him. Having faith looks like I could literally be starving right now and know that He is going to take care of me, that I'm going to be taken care of, that I'll be fed, that I'll have somewhere to sleep. And sometimes it's not easy for us to really have that trust. I mean, if you can't even trust a regular human being, some of us can't even trust our spouses, our sisters, our brothers, and now we are trusting a whole stranger that we cannot see at all, and we're trusting Him for every single thing that we need. Yeah, so it's a whole different type of trust. And I think the very first experience I had with that level of trust is when I got pregnant. If you've been pregnant, you can attest to it, but pregnancy will give you that type of feeling and validation that God really exists and that He is out there. Because how would you explain you having a whole human being inside of your body, growing and developing, and then now you have to deliver that same human being to the world? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So for me, that was the time I woke up and I realized, like, you know what, there has to be a God. It's not like I didn't know He was there, but it validated everything I believed and trusted about God. Now, where my faith was tested and where I had to really believe, I was on the verge of having a miscarriage. I was like around 4-5 weeks, 6 weeks pregnant. And then I was on the verge of having a miscarriage. And then I just remember asking the doctors, what is causing me to have this kind of pain, and what is causing me to bleed out? Is there anything that we can do? And all they said to me was there was no specific disease they could mention. There was no specific cure that they could give me. But all they said was it was a 50-50 chance that it could either happen or it could either not. So I knew at that time the only person I could really trust was someone whose power was beyond mine. Someone whose power was beyond human understanding, because in that moment I didn't even know that I desperately wanted this child, and now I was going to lose it. And I just remember kneeling down and praying to God said wholesomely that I trusted him, and that I trusted that he knew how much I wanted this child, and that I trusted that he would take care of my child and nothing would ever happen to my child. Now, the difference with that prayer, if it was the old me praying, I would pray that, then I would go back and sit and be sick with worry because I'm worrying about, oh my goodness, what if it doesn't happen? What if such and such a thing happens? No, this time around, I did not have any of that. I completely surrendered my own energy and my own strength and my own life, and I surrendered it to him, and I said, you know what? Take control of this situation, because even I cannot make anything of it. I cannot really understand it. Yeah. So I gave that to him, and I was confident in him, and I walked around every single day. I remember they told me, you need to sleep, you need to lie down, you cannot be active, you cannot be wild. I said no, I'm going to live every day and live a normal life, knowing very well that my life was going to be taken care of by him. And over time, when things unfolded, I did not lose my child, and my child was safe. And that took me on a journey of just really discovering God. And I went through this period of just so much bliss because I didn't have a single worry, and I didn't even know what that life looked like. Because previously in my life, I was the warrior. When there was a situation happening, I don't know, I just felt like it was weird for me to just be there idle and not do anything while bad things were happening to people around me. So I used to pick on the problems that they had, and I would worry on their behalf. If my mother was struggling with something, maybe finances were not coming through, I felt like I had a responsibility. Why would I just sit there and not do anything? So I felt like I had a responsibility to do something. And since I did not have financial means to step in and do something about it, I decided to worry. I carried on the worry, and I carried all the misery, and I kept it inside me because I felt like it was like a responsibility. But it wasn't, because even the person I was carrying that responsibility for was not worried about a single thing. I remember when I went to the university, we would literally have no fees to pay, and my mom would not be fazed about a single thing because she had this confidence that something was going to come through. And not because she had a lot of money, but she had this faith in God that was very, very, very interesting. So we have seen how my faith shifted and how I've been able to change that. But that does not mean that when my faith shifted, that it stayed like that forever. One thing I've noticed about faith is it's something that you have to nurture on a daily basis. You can either choose to remain in it, and you can choose to even stay out of it. Yeah. So one of the life-changing books that I read was The Supernatural Childbirth. I'm going to link it in the description below so that in case you need it, you can be able to find it. But this book basically teaches you that this book basically taught me a very big lesson when it came to delivering children and having faith during the course of your pregnancy. And basically it was teaching about these Hebrew women who were able to give birth without feeling any sort of pain. Yeah. And I don't like faith, so I actually decided to read this book deliberately because I wanted to find out how did these women do it. And they basically believed and trusted that giving birth to children was more like a muscle having to contract for your child to having. So it's just about your muscles contracting for you to be able to give birth to your child. And this motion, when I move my hand, that is a muscle contracting. Like, it doesn't pain you. Whenever you move your fingers, whenever you move your body, those are your muscles moving, and they don't hurt you. So they basically say that your muscles, your abdominal muscles, can do the very same thing. You just have to trust God that He's going to take control of that situation. And I know it sounds really, really strange. And I remember even reading that book. I did not read that book with anybody. I read that book by myself, and I believed by myself that this is what was going to happen to me. And interestingly, that's the same thing that happened to me. And what it says is, when you take yourself out of the faith, when you doubt that it can happen, then truth is, you will start to feel the pain. And it's almost like our subconscious really determines how things happen for us. When you believe a certain way, things can happen differently, and when you don't, things might happen differently. So truly, faith is not like you've set yourself on a certain mindset that you're going to be like that consistently. It's something you have to nurture on a daily basis. Ever since that period, I've gone through various times when, you know, my faith has been tested. Now, like for instance, recently, Last year when I lost my mom, my faith was tested to like the very, very, very limit, because she was the picture frame that I knew of someone who has trusted God all her life. And it was just weird to see her, like not be there, and even the way it happened. And it took me a minute to get myself back to actually trust God. Not because I stopped trusting him, but I didn't know how to communicate to him anymore. And because I didn't know how to communicate to him anymore, it means that I was not nurturing my faith. I was not nurturing my beliefs. And even in situations where I would go to him and speak to him, I didn't say anything. So I let anything happen, to chance, whatever happens. And we have to know that God also takes care of us, and he knows what we need even when we don't ask him. So even during those periods when I've not communicated to him more consistently, when I've not really had my faith nurtured very well, he has still been there for me. And now I'm in a much better place, and I'm able to nurture my faith, and I'm able to be more intentional in my relationship with him. So we should not beat ourselves up if we have not been as consistent. Life happens sometimes and situations come to us, and we may falter a little bit here and there. But the most important thing is just being very intentional about building that relationship with God and making sure that you really trust him. Not just trusting your own self, but because trusting your own self is very exhausting. When you rely on yourself for each and everything, you'll worry about everything, you'll get exhausted. But trusting him, it gives you that nice sense of relief, like, you know what, I'm taken care of, I don't have to worry about a single thing. And he will always come through for you. So the entire idea about this video is just for us to think about how we have been able to maneuver our relationship with God. And sometimes we might confuse having faith with being religious, but that's not it. Faith is just having that belief in God that he will take care of you, he'll take care of your family, that he will take care of you through situations, through bad times. You will always be taken care of by this one person, and that is having faith. However, just being religious is knowing there is God, and that's it. So just think about how you want to better your relationship. I know that I want to better my relationship with God in various ways. I want to be more intentional about going to church. I want to be more intentional about, reading the word. There are people who can do that off their heads, and they can give all these, Bible verses and stuff. I'm not able to do that. And I know that's something that I want to nurture. So just think of all the different ways that you want to nurture your faith in God. And please make sure that you give me a comment in the comment section, because I really want to learn as much as I can from you. And I'm sure someone else is also going to benefit from your message. So thank you for watching until the end of the video. It was quite lovely sharing my story with you. But if you want to stick around for more content and more videos that will help you for more videos that can nurture you wholesomely as a human being, as a woman, as a feminine woman, then please make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I don't want you to miss a single video. And be sure to share this video with your friends, your family, because they might enjoy it as well. Until the next video, bye.